Hi everybody, this is Sasha from the Sexperttalks, and today I am so happy to introduce you to Karyn Fleck. She's a relationship counselor and intimacy coach, and she was one of our mentors when we were training as sexuality coaches as well. So I got like all nervous when I was getting ready, like, oh my God. And I am so happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Sasha. I am so happy to be here too. I just love talking about sex, and I'm thrilled that you have this podcast and we can have some conversations.
That's amazing. And we were going to talk today about something that I think is so relevant, which is long-term relationships and how the desire factor can be ever changing in a relationship, and how also it affects communication and long-term commitment. So I think that is such an important topic, and I really appreciate that you're bringing it to the table.
Yes, it's a topic that's like very dear to my heart. A lot of the clients that I see come to me for this particular issue because people really do want their relationships to last and really do want to stay with their partner of choice. But this desire tends to kind of ebb and flow a little bit, and it causes some problems, and people are fearful that they might lose their relationship, and sometimes they do. So they really want to learn how to increase their desires so that they can maintain that relationship long term.
Yeah. And there's also like the expectation that desire and sexuality are going to be always the same. Like
Hmm.
at least at least we have the sexual connection, right? But the truth is that that's meant to change with time and with life events. So how do people deal with it in to create a successful relationship? How can we deal with this flow?
Yeah, yeah. I think you're really right. Like when we first get into a relationship and we have this new relationship energy and we're just like flowing with excitement and passion, and we don't think that that will ever change. We think that that moment is what defines love, and we want to be with this person because we want to feel that forever and ever. But then, time moves on. It's kind of like the energy in your body when you're in a new relationship, the energy in your body just kind of like expands and it's like outside of your body. So all you have to do is like get even near the person that you have the sexual chemistry with, and you feel that energy, you feel that sensation. But over time, with jobs and kids and mortgages and whatever else people have in their lives, the energy just kind of retracts back inside its body like it's supposed to. And, we can like bring it out to have exciting, passionate sex, but then it kind of like goes back. And so we just need to understand, first of all, that that's something that is natural, that happens. It doesn't mean that we don't have access to that passion. It just means that it's just not as readily available as it was when you first met. And so I think to start with, there is like some education around sexuality and around relationships and passion that I think is really important for people to get, and then to like teach people how to communicate about how they're feeling in their bodies, because there's a lot of miscommunication between a couple in regard to how they're feeling, where their arousal is, where their desire is, and what they need in order to feel that arousal and desire again.
So I love that. It's not like it just changed and it means our relationship it's over, which is pretty much what people immediately freak out about. They think that the moment in which they stop feeling that rush of desire that they had in the beginning, the relationship is just going to start dying, to wither and die. But when we start feeling these changes, you are recommending communication and getting to know ourselves more. How
Yeah.
can people approach that?
Yes, I think people just need to just start to create some safety in their community, in their relationship, to talk about how they're feeling. I think we're afraid to tell our partner how we're feeling because we're afraid they're going to be hurt. We're afraid they're going to be angry. We're afraid they're going to feel rejected. We're afraid that they're going to reject us, right? And so we have all this fear around communicating our sexual desires and our lack of arousal or whatever it is that's going on with us. So the first thing is in the relationship, when it's still before bad things happen, before it starts to deteriorate, if it was going to go that way, we need to create this like safety in communicating all of our desires and all of our feelings so that we can start to share and then work on it and then start to like, okay, well, what can we do about that? So and I think it's just so important for people to know and recognize that it has nothing to do with a phase of life. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with all the things that we kind of blame lack of desire and arousal around. Or even, some people, like, they may have come into the relationship fully sexual and fully enjoying their relationships, intimacy, and then they get to a point where they're not anymore and they go, well, I'm just not a sexual person. And, my response to that is usually, well, if you have been, then you can be again. It's like, do you want it or don't you want it? If you do want it, then there's ways of getting that back.
And just here, there are three very important things that I am listening and that I have heard to be a trouble for many people, which are the communication of your feelings and safety. And then this idea of, I can take it back. I have heard people daring to think that it's not sexy to speak about their feelings, that it's not sexy to be safe, that safety kills sexuality and passion, that it's not sexy to speak, that sexuality is something that just happens like this very passionate caveman-like situation in which they just go and turn into sexual beasts once they get into the bedroom, and once they realize it's not happening, they start freaking out and they refuse to communicate because they feel like their partner is going to be extremely disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. And that's true. Like, people have this idea that sexy is exactly as you described it. And that relationships aren't supposed to have to take work. I've had lots of people who say, like, if we have to work at it, then, like, is it really for us? Like, are we supposed to, are we really in love? Are we really meant to be together if we have to work at it? And my response is, everybody has to work at their relationship. Every relationship takes work. There is, I have never seen it. I suppose it's possible, but I don't think there are any relationships that just flow very naturally, very easily, very perfectly, all the way through from beginning till the end of life, if that's what people are looking for, without having to take some work to do it. So, again, I say start doing the work before you have problems. Start doing the work to learn how to listen to each other, how to empathize with each other, how to validate each other, how to create this place where your partner can tell you anything that they're feeling, and that you can hear it, and that you can, like, help them work with whatever it is they need, to feel more desire and whatever it is they need in the relationship.
That's super important. Well, those two things. First, that relationships take work, and second, how to communicate once you're having these shifts, and how to work, how to do the work. Because I think that there's a lot of fear about hurting sensitivities, right? Like, how can you approach your partner and tell her or him, I am not feeling desire or I am not feeling sexy, without hurting your partner's sensitivity and making him or her react in a way that makes it a whole big drama, right? Like how can we have more intelligent communication together?
Hmm. Yeah, and let's face it, like, as women, growing up in this culture and this society, we tend to want to be pleasers. We tend to want everybody to be happy. We tend to want to, like, smooth everything over. So if we're starting to, like, lose our desire and we're starting to, like, not feel as sexy as we were, we know that our partner still desires us and still wants to have sex with us. And so quite often we continue to participate. And, this is like a touchy subject, but a lot of women are faking it. They're pretending they're enjoying it. They're making sounds like they're enjoying it. They have learned, what their partner believes is the body language and the sounds that we make when we are having like a really great sexual time, and we continue to provide that for our partners. To the detriment of our own sexuality. Our own sexuality begins to shut down more and more. We begin to get number and number, and sometimes we don't recognize it until like we really have like no sensation left anymore. So the key is in, like we've been saying, is like starting as soon as we start to feel I'm not ready. Let's slow this down. Let's, it's like taking charge of your own pleasure, right? So if you're not feeling it, I have a lot of clients that want to blame their partner. Like, he's not doing it for me anymore. He's not making the right moves. He's not doing the things that I want him to do. And so I'm like, take responsibility for your own pleasure. Tell him what feels good. Tell him to slow down. Tell him to soften up. And you can do that in a sexy way. Start using like your voice, your language, the sounds that you can make to show him what is enjoyable for you. And that authenticity that you bring to your sexuality is sexy for him, and it's also like very sexy for you, but it doesn't look like what we see in porn, right? It looks very different than what we see in porn. So we're not used to it, and we don't know how it's going to be interpreted, right? And so we need to we just need to have a conversation to start with, and start saying, I'm going to be telling you what I like, and I'm going to be instructing you on what I want to have happen while we're intimate. And I want you to understand that this is so that we can have like a much more enjoyable sexual relationship. It's not being critical. It's not telling you you're not good enough. It's not any of those things. What it is I'm trying to like show you what I really like, and how my body is changing.
I love that so much. And that is so, so, so important. Like taking responsibility for your own pleasure. I was there. I was so there. That's how I started training myself in this path. I was blaming my husband for not having the amazing sex that I wanted to have. And it all changed when I started taking my sexuality in my own hands, metaphorically and literally.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. So, yeah, communication, as I hear you speaking about it, can be this sexy game in which we can start enticing our partner. But the first step is to know what you actually like, to take responsibility of your pleasure, and then communicate it in a sexy, playful way.
That's right. That's so right. Yes. And so I might have even skipped that part, getting to know what your body likes. So, start on your own, pleasuring yourself. Start touching, start trying different things, start, feeling into what is pleasurable for you. So it's pretty hard to know how to instruct your partner on, whether he is, needs to soften his touch, or whether he needs to move up or down or sideways. If you don't even know yourself, right? So yeah, you absolutely need to start, as you just said very beautifully, take your own pleasure in your own hands, literally and figuratively, and start to like explore your body and find out what feels good and what doesn't. It's the sensation. It's the sensation that we're looking for. It's not the job of your partner to provide that sensation all the time. It's your responsibility to know what it is that you like and what you don't like, and then to share it with him so that you two can share your pleasure together.
That's so beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. And then it can work the other way around. Can men also lose I mean, I have seen it, but I would love to hear your opinion. Like, can men also lose their sexual desire as the relationship grows?
Yes, it definitely goes both ways. I think we have seen that women do lose their sexual desire more often sooner. And with men, what I have seen, and I'm sure it happens in every area, like everything is normal. But what I've seen more is men lose their sexual desire if their partner has withdrawn, if their partner has kind of gone a little cold to them, if their partner, has been distracted, if their partner's been going through some mental health concerns. Like quite often, as we kind of go through these different things in life, we will sometimes turn away from our partners, and they get lonely. They get lonely, and men and women, we both need intimacy, and we need closeness, and we need connection. And just like we desire the things that we desire, men usually do desire feminine attention and feminine touch and feminine connection. And when they're not receiving that, we do see a lot of men turning to find it somewhere else because they desire it, and they want that, and they need that. And I don't want to say that as a way to scare women, that they have to be present. I don't want to scare them into faking it, like I was talking about before. It's a reality that we need to like acknowledge and validate, and work towards finding that balance and finding that way that we can love each other as much as we possibly can, as long as we want to be in the relationship with each other.
That's so, I thought that I was muted. That's so powerful, and that's so important. And I know the fear, right? Maybe is he gonna want somebody else? Maybe that's why I should like play the part of the super sexy porn star in bed so that he doesn't lose interest in me. But in reality, I would dare to say that it's not about playing a part, but about embracing your sexuality. That's like the biggest turn on a woman that is in touch with her sexuality.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we very naturally go through seasons. I think it's, really important to bring out the fact that men and women, we all go through seasons. And so summer is like the hot, passionate season, right? And so there are times when we feel hot and passionate and, overflowing with sexuality. And then we might go into autumn, and autumn is like a little more muted, and it's like, there's still a warmth and there's still a sensuality about us, but we're not like all hot and passionate. And then sometimes we go through a winter where it's we're withdrawn, and we're hibernating, and we're going within, and we're trying to figure things out. And then spring comes again, and we start to like become more luscious, and we start to become more interested in sex again. And then the hot, and it doesn't, like the difference between Mexico and Canada. Mexico has like a long summer, Canada has a short summer. We're all different in how long we spend in each of the seasons. But to recognize that we do go through seasons, and that's okay, and that we can still have intimacy and connection with our partner without it always being so passionate and exciting. And I think our partners are okay with that too. Like they don't need to have that hot, passionate, sexual woman all the time. Like they're fine to just have some like beautiful intimacy. And that's what I hear from men more and more, is like they just want her to be present with them. They just want her to show that she loves him and wants to touch him and desires him, but may not be passionate about it in this moment.
Yeah.
So that's really what they desire. And I think we kind of like close it off because we're scared that if we show that we do love them and desire them, that we have to perform like that again.
Mhm.
To be that hot, passionate woman, that we have to be that if we show them. And so we kind of like withhold some of our attention and affection because we don't want to have to perform, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, that is so important. I think
Mm-hmm.
that you just spoke about something that leaves me thinking a lot about the idea of sexuality, that it doesn't have to be about coitus, it doesn't have to be about penetrative sex. It can be sometimes about intimacy, just being intimate with your partner, just being
Mm-hmm.
present. And sometimes intimacy feels like cuddling, and sometimes it feels like having a long conversation or laughing together or just being present.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes it can just be like you can say to your partner, you know, I do want to be naked, skin on skin with you, and touching our each other's bodies, stroking each other's bodies, but I don't want to have any genital contact right now. That doesn't feel right for me right now. And you know, and I think knowing that that's okay, and knowing that you can ask for that, and knowing that that's a safe thing for you to have, I think that gives her helps her relax, and it also he still gets some of his needs met.
Yeah, and we do too, because we crave that intimacy as well. It's just I would say that women are craving intimacy in order to soothe into sexuality, right? Like I have noticed that one of my biggest turn-ons is to first have a long conversation, to first create connection, to first create a sense of being seen and seeing him, like just laughing or joking or just being together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we want more of the same things than we realize, and we don't really think about that. But I think we both really do want the same things. We just have different ways of going about trying to get it. And you know, men's brains are different from women's brains. And I don't like to be like totally binary. Like I do see clients that are in gay relationships, and in, you know, other types of relationships. And so you know, these issues can also occur in all different kinds of relationships. It's not just in heterosexual male female kind of relationships. It happens in all different kinds. We have just different levels of sexual energy. We have different levels of feminine energy, different levels of masculine energy, and regardless of whether we are female or male, we you know we just have like these differences, and that's what creates some of the problems.
Ah, absolutely. Oh my God, that's so important. And just in here, I think we have spoken about so many important topics, like all the expectations around how desire evolves. I would just like to finish with one question that I think that is so relevant when it comes to relationships, like love versus desire. There is this idea that in a relationship where you have a lot of love, it's desire is not necessary, and you can desire somebody and not love that person. Like I have seen particularly men, I don't know if it's the same in every culture, but I find that a lot in Latin American cultures where and maybe in Catholic cultures, where like Italian cultures, where they think that the wife is so sacred that it's bad and nasty to desire her, and you can place that desire somewhere else, because and they actually have a very unpleasant unpleasant phrase that they use. It's like everybody it's a whore except my wife and my mother. So it's like ooh, wait a minute. It's and it's painful because of the because of what it means, like towards the slut shaming, but it's also painful because the wife wants to feel desired as well, and
Hmm.
she's been refused uh, that birthright of being desired and wanted, because she should be above that. Have you seen something like that? What would your perception about that be?
Yeah, I've definitely seen it a little bit more in Latina culture than I do in more of the North American or Canadian or those kinds of cultures. You know, what I've seen that has been similar is kind of like the whore Madonna complex, where
Mm.
you know, women are either whores or they're, you know, special, and that they're not like to be sexualized, right? And I think that is very damaging. I think it's damaging to women in general. Like we are all sexual, right? And
Yeah.
being sexual is beautiful. It's our beautiful. It's our gift. It's our sacredness. It's a part. You know, we are all capable of you know, of creating life to a certain degree, right? Depending on our biology, and it's something that we all have the right to have sexuality, and for that to be sacred and beautiful, and not shamed for it, and not being, because if we're more sacred, then we don't have sexuality. So yeah, that's a challenging cultural ideal that hopefully over time we can, help people work through, and that people can have that beautiful connection where the person that they're choosing to be their lover it can have both. They can be revered and they can have their sexuality. But and that's kind of like in a monogamous kind of like relationship, but there's other forms of relationships as well. But I just think that we all are sexual people, and that we all deserve to be seen in a positive sexual light. Yeah.
I love that. We are all sexual and sexuality is sacred. So we are all both sacred and sexual.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, 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 yes. I have seen that in other cultures as well, but it's so common in the Latina culture. But yeah, it's like this polarization, the whore versus the saint, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
we can be we can be just sexual and not having to worry about being free in our expression of sexuality. That would be the ideal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and I think there are different levels of intensity around that belief system, and that, like it's possible that, somebody who has that belief system also, maybe sees the women who um, that we might say like the horror, maybe they don't see them in a negative light. Maybe they see them in a very positive light as well. And I think I've seen some of that as well. But at the same time, it's damaging to somebody if we are separating human beings as to being like these ones are sexual and these ones aren't.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely, absolutely agree. Thank you so much. I want to remind you all to please go and check her webpage. She has some amazing packages. Make sure that you check them out, that you write to her to let her know your interest, your questions, and to work with her. It's an amazing opportunity. Relationships take work. It's important that you invest in the person that you're going to live with forever by investing in your relationship.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I have packages. I see people one-on-one locally. I see people on Zoom or online when I meet with them when they don't live near me. And yeah, there's like I see couples and I see individuals. So I have lots of room, but my focus is people's relationships and also their sexuality. So yeah, come to my website. I think we're going to have it listed, and
Yes.
just check it out. You can go right ahead and book, or you can also like contact me and talk about having a conversation. So that would be fantastic.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for asking me to come. And I really enjoyed our conversation so much.
Yay.